All right, guys, for the second exercise, we're going to take all that we've done in setting up our templates and our paragraph styles and apply it to practicing the formatting of different articles. Before we begin, you need to download the Story Sets 1 from the class Moodle page. Inside of these story sets, once you extract the folder from the zip file, there are 5 different articles that we're going to use throughout this exercise. If you open them up, they're just a plain text document that gives you the headline and the body copy for each of the articles. The next thing you need to have finished is the British Tabloid template. We're going to use this one, so make sure you've got the correct size and the formatting for all of your paragraph styles. And the final thing you'll need to download are the first of the rules of layout handout that I gave you. For these rules, I'm showing you how to format the body copy or the article's text and some ways of thinking about that, and also how to format and use the different headlines and some different styles that I'll refer to within this exercise. So to jump in and get started, the first thing we'll do is to double click on our British tabloid and open it up like a regular document. Notice that when you double click it, it should give you an untitled InDesign document. So that's what we want to be able to see. I've also got my paragraph styles open, and I've opened up my pages panel because we'll be adding on some more pages. So let's zoom in and try for the first article. Now the gist of this particular exercise is that each page will have an article that's going to span a certain number of columns and have a different style or type of headline. And so we're going to practice styling our articles and styling the headlines and placing them on different pages. Just one article per page. By the end of it, you'll have 15 pages total that use all 5 of the articles. So for this first page, we've got our solar bike paths that's going to span 4 columns, and we'll use a banner style of headline. I like to work with the body copy first. So let's open up that particular article. Here I have it here. And I'm going to copy the body copy. So go to Edit and Copy. We'll jump into InDesign, grab your Type tool, and let's create a text box that spans 4 columns, 2, 3, and 4. With it copied, we can go to Edit and Paste, and this will paste our text into here. Let's do Command A to select all of it, and within your paragraph styles, we'll format it as the body copy. The next thing we need to do, since we're spanning over 4 different columns, the text box needs to be converted to 4 columns as well. If you don't see it up at the very top, you can click on your paragraph panel, and the number of columns is found right here. So this little icon is what we're looking for. We'll increase that to 4, and automatically it flows the text nice and through here. The next thing you need to notice is if you ever see the little red plus sign, this simply means there's some overset text, and there's not enough room for it to fit in this size text box. So to get rid of it, we can click on this center down button and drag it down, and it'll automatically reflow our text so that we can see all of the different paragraphs that we're working in. Okay, so now that we've got it set up, let's do some formatting of our body copy. The first thing we need to get rid of are any widows or orphans. Widows and orphans are whenever a paragraph has either part of a word or one whole word all by itself on that last line. And in general, this is a typographic no-no. We don't want to have any of these throughout any of the articles. Sometimes they're unavoidable, but in this case, let me show you how to get rid of them. We'll grab our Type tool, and let's highlight whatever paragraph that we need to affect. So this one's got an orphan down here at the bottom, so we'll get rid of it. To get rid of them, let's go back to our characters formatting, and we're going to adjust the tracking, which is the space between all of the letters, to be able to push or pull the letters or more words onto this line. So if I increase it in increments of 10, so here's 10, notice now that gave us enough space between it so that there's 2 words on the bottom portion. If I continue to increase, I can go as much as positive 20, or let's see if I can bring it down to negative 10 or negative 20. Either one of those, positive or negative 10, is just enough to give me a couple of words on that last line, and it actually looks really good. The reason why you don't want to do it too much is because if you keep going, it's going to spread it out way too much, and it's kind of very obvious that you've done something to it. So we'll keep that at positive 10 for there. Let's zoom back out. Going through the entire article now, look and see if you have any other widows or orphans. So nothing on the very end of any of our paragraphs. This one all looks good. The last thing you need to do is to square up your article. This is also called making it modular. To do this, we simply need to make sure that all the height of each of the legs of our article are exactly the same. So let's grab our selection tool again. I'll go down here to the bottom, and I'm going to adjust the height of it till all of this is on the same baseline. Click and drag up. And so there it is right there. That one actually worked out really, really well. All right, so now that they're all the same height, we can focus on adding a headline to our design. If we go back to our instructions, the headline style for this page 1 is going to be a banner head. We'll go back to here. If we look at our rules of type on the very last page, you can see there are 7 different styles of headlines that we can work from. Banner is the easiest one to do. All a banner is having the headline go all the way across the width of your article. In our case, it's going to be 4 columns. Later on, I'll talk about the kicker and hammer, the slammers and tripods, and the raw wraps and the side saddle. So I'm going to choose my text tool. Let's create a new text box on top of this. And we'll go back to our article and copy the headline and paste it into here. Command C, Command V, pasted it into here. Once we've got it on here, we can use our paragraph styles to determine a proper size for our headline. And to be honest, you can either use serif or sans serif headlines. I like to kind of flow back and forth between them just to get used to using 2 different styles. But here it is as a large headline. Here's a medium and a small. And I want to choose the size that fits the width of the column nicely. So the medium one got pretty close. From here, I can go up to the size of my text and then maybe knock it down a couple of points to 26 point. Now it rides nice and nicely along the width of the article that I have. So this is looking pretty good. Some other things that you can do, let's go ahead and bring this down closer to our article, usually giving it about 1 point or 1 spacing between that. But some other things you can do to this article is if your editor comes to you and says, hey, we need to make that headline much larger. We need to make it stand out. But we still want to keep it on one particular line. Well, we can edit what the type or the wording of our headline. To do this, we'll take out maybe some lesser details and keep the gist of what the article is about. So if I'm reading this, I see solar bike paths are all the rage in the Netherlands. Maybe I want to take out the part about in the Netherlands. I can then select the rest of it, increase that until it goes all the way across, and now I've got a larger type that fits within this area. The final thing to know about creating your headlines is how many lines deep does it need to be. Right now, this is just 1 line of text, but sometimes you see headers be several different lines. Well, if we go back to our rules, on this page at the very bottom, I'm showing you the general guidelines to make them. If you've got an article that's this number of columns wide, in our case it was 4 columns, this is how many lines deep your headline can be. And so that's why we kept it at 1. But if you've got a thinner article, something that's say 2 or 3 columns wide, you can make it several different lines deep. That's what we're going to do for the second one. So let's go back to here. We've already finished up page 1. I'll zoom back out. Let's make a new page. So in our Pages panel, at the very bottom, we'll click the New Page icon, and that'll create page 2. Whoops. Zoom back out. Go into our instructions. Page 2 is going to use that same solar bike path article. This time it's going to span 3 columns, and it's going to have a kicker as its headline type. Let's go back to here. Hey, since we're using the same article, let's go ahead and copy and paste it. So Command C, jump back into here, Command V to paste it. So we got our article. Now we need to format the body copy first. So I'm going to pull this off. The body copy needs to fit 3 different columns. So let's resize this to be 3. And let's also resize the number of columns up here to be 3. And then we'll click and drag to resize the height of this. I know I've already taken care of all of the widows and orphans, but let's see if it gives us any trouble about making it squared off or modular. We'll zoom in so we can see this one. So if I drag it up, I'm going to get some overset text if I go 1, but if I don't do it, I'm under by 2. So let's see if we can adjust the kerning and tracking so that we can pull this last article so that we can see all of the text for this article. Again, grab your type tool. Let's select this last paragraph. I can triple click till it's all selected. And then we'll go up to our tracking and let's see if we can do -10, -20. There we go. So now I can see the entire article and it's modular and flush inside of here. As far as our headline goes, we're allowed to make it at least 2, there we go, at least 2 columns wide, or 2 columns in depth, excuse me. It still needs to be no more than 3 columns. So solar bike paths are all the rage in the Netherlands, and I could probably get away with it being slightly smaller. And so this would be nice and appropriate if this was just to be a banner style headline. Because it's 3 columns, I can get away with 2 lines of depth for this. Does that make sense? However, a kicker style has something extra added to it. Let's go back to our rules of type that we're working with. Kickers have a deck in addition to the main headline. A deck is a simple 1, sometimes 2 sentences that expand on what the article is about and gives a little bit more information than what the headline would have said. So to generate a deck, let's go back to our document. We'll create a new text box, and this can either run all the way across or it could stop a few columns short. But we need to add on a little bit more information. This would be something that would help catch our attention. So let's see. A new trend is sweeping across Europe. Something like that. For this particular exercise, I will leave it up to you what you want to say as far as editing your headlines and also creating your own decks, as long as they're appropriate. Now, the style of the deck needs to be something that differentiates itself from the body copy and also the headline. So I've got it selected. Maybe instead of Minion Pro, let's do Myriad. And I'll choose Myriad Pro Italic. And we'll make it a little bit larger so that it stands out from here. So we'll make that span all the way across. That looks good. And so I've got now a deck or a subhead to go along with my main heading. The kicker style, if we look back at our cheat sheet, will have the headline below the deck. So the deck's on top and the main headline is down below. So we need to move this down here. I remember this by having the kicker, the main headline is below, like it's kicking the article. And so this is a kicker style headline. If we look at the other ones, you've got a hammer style headline, and that's simply the reverse of these two. A hammer has the article on top and the deck down below. I remember it this way because you're hammering someone over the head, and that's above the deck from this one. The other ways that you can do this, sometimes you'll see the deck inside of the article, and so you could place this down into the article itself. Let's see if we can do it for the first paragraph. If you do this, you need to turn on text wrapping. So there's text wrap. And then this could now be a traditional banner style with a lead-in deck that tells a little bit more of this. This would also be very, very appropriate. Some of the other styles that we talk about, like raw wraps, tripods, and hammers. Let's do a slammer next. A slammer allows you to take just 2 or maybe 3 solid words and give it a colon and then lead out with more information after this. So let's say we'll do solar bike paths, are all the rage in the Netherlands. Let's do bike paths as our 2 different words. Bike paths will be nice and bold, and then after this, to make a slammer style, bike paths, we'll say all the rage, solar panels, solar technology, all the rage. And then after that particular colon, we'll make that italicized text, and the whole thing will be a little bit smaller. So there's your slammer style of headline. Your eye is drawn to this portion, and the rest of the information kind of leads off after this one. A tripod is similar to this, except instead of having one line of text, you've got usually 2 or 3 lines of text. And you can look at the example to see those. To do this, however, we do need to have another headline. And so solar panel paths are all the rage in the Netherlands. We'll make this larger. And this is simply a way of putting the deck beside a major portion here. Sometimes you'll even see these as all caps. So there's a tripod style of settings for this one. You can see these again in our rules of layout, last page. There's our kicker and our hammer. There's our slammer and a tripod. The last 2 are a raw wrap and a side saddle. Raw wraps, we'll go back up and I'll just copy this one from here, allow you to take your headline and we're going to wrap it inside of the article text. So once it's placed inside of here, we need to turn on text wrapping. Again, text wrapping can be found at the very top, this little icon, and it allows the article to wrap all the way around this particular, this particular headline. We do maybe want to make it slightly larger, maybe even bring out the leading, just so that it fits nice and easily inside of here as well. Do make sure that you've readjusted the height of your columns so that everything is nice and modular in the end as well. Everything should look nice and squared off once you've placed your headline inside of your body copy. The final one is the side saddle. Side saddle is very easy. Basically, you're taking your article and you're placing the headline off to the side, so it's writing side saddle, and you could do something like change the alignment of it to be off to that side. So there's your side saddle style of article. What you're going to do for the rest of these pages is create a new page for each of the articles and the column span and headline type. Pay attention to which articles should be on which page. Pay attention to the number of columns and the headline style that it should be formatted. The whole purpose of this is to get you practicing making the different styles of headlines and recognizing what it takes to place them in there. We did find one small error on page 3. It shouldn't be a one-column side saddle. That should be a four-column side saddle. So that's the only thing to pay attention to for this one. Once you're finished, save this as an InDesign file, and that InDesign file is what you'll upload to Moodle at the end of this exercise.